So, in the previous episode, we talked about what was, and you gave us an insight into that critical moment, May 2022, where more pressure, a huge amount of pressure was added into the system, or you could see that being built up over time. We're now in 2026.
Yeah.
So that is, what are you currently having to deal with? Give me a sense of a few things. Where is all of this sewage going out of septic tanks? What does it look like in terms of capacity within Cornwall itself? And so what are you having to do?
So obviously from the previous episode, I spoke about South West Water and their 12 sites being open. Currently today, there is nothing open. Nowhere in Cornwall and Devon, they're all closed. So at the moment, we are currently tankering to Avonmouth and Chard. That's the closest place we've got to do.
How many miles is that?
We are doing at least 246 miles each way at the moment.
So how much more fuel are you burning based on this?
So over November and December, we was doing an extra 28,000 miles a month over 5 Arctics, and our fuel bill went up by about 25k.
A month?
Month more.
Bloody
and
hell.
I don't get paid any more for it.
Why have the sites shut?
Sites are shut because they're now out of compliance. So basically what's happened is, obviously, every site is currently storming with the bad weathers we're having. They can't handle any more. They are now all currently closed. They've got processing issues. They've got, basically the sites are old. You know, they're built in the 60s and 70s. Yeah, they've had bolt-ons put on the end of them, but then the initial works is all still the same. They can't get any more throughput. We're putting more and more into them. As I said, in May 22, we was doing 11 million gallons a year. We're now currently at 16.5 million gallons a year.
So demand's gone up.
Yeah, demand's gone up. We've had a few little companies from May 22 to 26 have gone by the wayside because they can't physically afford to do what they're doing now. We've got one-man bands at the moment. You would say they're competitors, but really they're all in the same boat. They're all helping the same problem with the environment and everything. And they're all parked up at home. They can't do nothing. You know, it's unfair.
Because they can't afford the cost of going to
Avonmouth. No. And in fairness, we can't. But it's either that or you put 40 lovely people on the dole. That is reality, because you just can't keep affording to tanker Cornwall's waste out the county. I mean, it is just such a mess. I mean, we went from 12 sites to 5 sites. There's no sites currently open. We had a meeting there a few weeks ago with South West Water and the Environmental Agency, and at the moment it doesn't look like they've got any real interest in getting any of the 7 other sites up back and live again.
So there's obviously the business issue that you and the other haulier companies are facing here in Cornwall. But let's talk a little bit about the environmental and social impact that this is having right now. It's because when we spoke a few times, and we've talked about this a fair few times, you've been telling me stories of septic tanks that are at the point of overflowing or have overflowed.
Yeah.
And that's in people's homes, that's in people's businesses, campsites, off-grid kind of tourism facilities. So give me a sense of what's happening.
So November, December last year was sad. We had customers ringing up in tears on the phone, can't use nothing, toilet drains are all full, everything's backed up with the unprecedented weather we've been having. The ground can't physically take any more. I mean, you see the damage what the flooding is doing at the moment everywhere, and not just in the county, but all over the country. They're overflowing. We've also got businesses now, we've had to put back 2 or 3 months for their annual clean-outs because we can't physically get rid of the waste. We've got campsites who are going to be opening up again very shortly. And we might have to have that awkward conversation with them saying, we're going to have to limit you to what we can do. You're going to have to limit your custom. But they can't afford to because of the ever-rising costs of everything else going on in the world at the moment. And then you've got the crisis in Stadions, you know, where at the moment you've got sewage literally coming out in the streets.
Street.
Literally the street in Stadions. That's how bad it is. You know, you thought the bubonic plague was bad enough. We're in 2026. No one can even flush their loo without it coming out somewhere else that it shouldn't be.
So that's the environmental and social piece of what the is today. One of the things that you've been told, you know, rightly or wrongly, but it is a solution, is to be able to store more on site and to create the necessary facilities for that to happen, and for organisations to have been prepared from 2022 to now to have some of these facilities on site. How's that gone for you so far?
So the EA they give us a dispensation. Pellows is a little bit different, so I'll come on to that. So they've given a special dispensation. So hauliers are allowed to store up to 60 tonnes a day, roughly, of sewage on their sites under an exemption. Well, that's absolutely fine for like the one-man bands who are going out and doing a few days' work. But eventually that storage becomes full, and all you're doing is creating a backlog. You're not actually sorting your problem out. You're only prolonging your problem even further.
So you're kicking a can down the road?
Pretty much, yeah. So we've done something a bit different. Pellows has invested heavily into getting their own treatment facility up and running. We are getting there very slowly, as you're aware. We have got a lot of other hurdles to cross with political bullshit.
We'll come on to that in the future.
So we've managed to put storage in for 400 tonnes on our site currently. And it's all got to be approved by the EA through permitting and everything. You've got to have special containment and everything. But the problem is, we go back to the first part where I say 60 tonnes a day, but we're moving currently out our yard 6, so that's 2 Arctics loads roughly. We're doing 2.5 times more of that on average a day, 6 days a week.
So there is that capacity is not marrying up to the demand right now.
Not for us. I mean, it does help, but as you said, kicking the can down the road. You're only pushing it so far until you hit another brick wall.
Yeah.
And all we're doing at the moment is we're hitting a brick wall. And if we go over that containment, if we go try and side skirt that containment or try and move a bit, you're going to get done. You're going to get prosecuted.
There's an enforcement
there, you know. And at the moment, it feels like you can't do right for wrong. It feels like you ask for help, the help never comes, but if you do 1 cube over your permitted allowance, they'll prosecute you.
So that's their job, right? I'm going to play devil's avocado here. That's their job. They are there to monitor, enforce, and actually most of the public want that to be the case. They want to protect the environment. And you want it to be the case.
Well, yeah, 100%. Rules are rules. We've got to play within the rules.
But what sounds like the problem is here is that the solution, even if it's a temporary one, but the solution, which is to build up your own storage capacity, which takes money, takes cash. You've already said that it's costing these businesses more now to haul because they're going further.
Yeah.
So there's not as much cash in the pot to invest in this stuff. But if you've got that cash, invest in that. But then you need the permits and the various different licenses in order to get that facility up and running. And that's been a struggle for you.
Yes. So my brother James, he's been on it since 2017. He's done a cracking job, to be fair. I couldn't do it, but he has. And we had a permit in place. And so we had a permit called a standard rules permit. The standard rules permit let us do what we wanted to do. And the next phase of that was to try and get our permit to go to river, to potentially, we'll go on to it, protect the future. And during COVID, they decided to say that they are abolishing the standard rules permit and bringing a bespoke permit. And because they brought in that bespoke permit now, currently we're still running on our old one, but because they brought out that bespoke permit, we've now got to become and comply like an anaerobic digester, what involves a lot more money. So we've gone from a thing that we've managed to achieve and worked fine for our business, and we're not, and everything we're achieving, we're still achieving now, but they want now more out of us. So they've now put more and more hurdles in the way.
So they're shifting the goalposts.
They're shifting the goalposts again. And
all the while, the crisis is getting worse.
And the crisis is getting worse, but they're wanting more money. And more money, and we've got to spend more money. But if you're not earning the money because the crisis is on, where's the money coming from?
So this is the state of play. This is the shit that is currently.
Yes.
We are full in Cornwall of sewage. So much so that it's leaking out of the roads, out of houses, out of campsites. Yeah. There are only a small number of organisations like you who can afford to actually haul some of this stuff out of county, a couple of 100 miles, get it out, dumped, and then come back to pick up the next load. And that load has got bigger and bigger since May 2022.
Yes.
To try and solve this, you're being told this needs to be something which you invest in storage, processing facilities on your site. But every time you've invested and you've got the permits and you're ready to rock and roll, demand's gone up, but also the goalposts have shifted as well.
Yes.
And that's the state of the shit that it is right now.
Yeah, and because of that, where you're almost at the next point of going, you'll then get another load of fences put in the way, and then you've got to hurdle those fences to get to those fences. But every time you jump a fence, it's another 10, 20, 30,000 pound every time.
So this is a costly set of hurdles.
Yeah, so like we've got...
I've never been good at hurdles.
No, nor have I.
You look like a hurdler.
No, only if I'm running from something I should be. But no, in all seriousness, is like you've got those fences in the way, and every fence is minimal 10 grand. Yeah. And it gets to the stage where how many more £10,000 have we got to find to get to the goal line that we originally was at? So we already was at that goal line, and now we've had to go
an extra further steps. Yeah. So that's the it is.